Bioshock 4 is a video game. Sometimes. You honestly would not remotely think it. I thought it would be easier doing a more complete review rather than two separate reviews and possibly an episode metal review, because quite frankly I don't want to touch that. Biggest waste of time, and it's free. I despise it. I genuinely despise it. As you see, we start in Splash Hill, which is nothing more than practically just another reimagining of Green Hill, Emerald Hill, Seaside Hill, Neo Green Hill, Neo South Island Zone. There is so many of them that it actually gives me a headache. The controls for Sonic 4 Episode 1 is bad, and I don't want to put that lightly because I don't want to say that it's terrible. It's usable, and that's really all it's ever gonna be. The physics are not great. You can pull off some really stupid things here and there, but that's not to say I actually enjoy it either. I'm only doing one act per zone because, quite frankly, I don't hate myself that much. There are exceptions, by the way. Casino Street is just Casino Night Zone. I really have nothing more to say about it than that. I have never been so disappointed with a stage in my life, quite frankly, because these controls do not benefit this stage whatsoever. It is annoying as hell, quite frankly. And I know my gameplay does not look like much. Trying to remember how each individual detail works, it does not help the physics engine. It's trying way too hard to be something that it's not. Any Lost Labyrinth fans? Any fans whatsoever? Me. I'm the only fan of this stage for some asinine reason, because the entire zone, it's Labyrinth Zone. There's nothing more to say, which that's generally what's so disappointing about this game to me. There is barely any originality besides slight gimmicks in each stage, which, don't get me wrong, I like Lost Labyrinth's gimmick. I do quite enjoy the bowl rolling. I honestly think it's one of the better gimmicks used in this game, because it genuinely fits the aesthetic, it fits the location. The music is quite good, and granted that's not saying much, especially because, you know, it's Sonic 4, but, you know, you get used to it. I do wish the song was a bit longer, but what's available is what's available, and it's acceptable at best. Let's quickly talk about the ball rolling. It's a very finicky gimmick, and I quite enjoy it. It genuinely sets a lot of things right with this specific act, because Act 1 is really decent. It's Act 2 and 3 which are usually the problem. Did somebody say Metropolis Remake? No one in their right mind genuinely enjoys Metropolis Zone as what people would expect you to. The physics in this game do not complement this stage. Everything is so floaty. The only thing I can appreciate about this stage is the music. Act 1, 2, and 3 genuinely give me a massive adrenaline boost, but that doesn't mean I like the stages, nor do I like the zone. The entire point of Episode 1 being remixed being remixed Sonic 1 and 2 stages doesn't sit well with me. Episode 2 does it so much better. It's why I think it's a superior game, and it's also why I am so iffy with this duology of games. Nothing about it actively feels right to play. Only Episode 2 does, and that upsets me. You're telling me you couldn't reimagine, like, any of the zones from Sonic 1 and 2 for Episode 1 and do it right? Let's do a lightning round on bosses. Splash Hill Zone's boss is just Green Hill Zone Act 3's boss. There is nothing adequately special about it, other than it has a pinch mode like the Sonic Advance games, and really that's the only interesting gimmick you're actually gonna get from it. Casino Street's boss is just a watered-down, even linear version of Casino Night's boss, which, with these controls, I feel like I'm in more control than Sonic Spinball, but that's not really, you know, something to be proud of, particularly, in any given case. Lost Labyrinth Zone's boss, it starts off like Labyrinth Act 3, which, you know, it works a bit better in this game. I did not like Labyrinth Act 3 that much. I honestly like this boss more for, I'd like to say aesthetics, and that's a really bad cop-out, to be honest, because quite frankly, it has an interesting idea, which reminds me a lot of Scrap Brain Act 3, which is Labyrinth Zone Act 4. It all comes full circle. It is all just the same zone. It's the same boss. But if I were to say which boss was the best out of this game, like just individual boss, it would be Lost Labyrinth Act 3. No, Lost Labyrinth boss. Mad Gear's boss is just Metropolis. It's just Metropolis. And I do have an issue with, you know, the inflatable Eggmen, because the fact they hurt you is a pain in the ass. I guess they had to make a difficulty increase. But they gave this boss 2 phases, which is honestly more annoying, to be honest with you. I don't know why they decided that was a good idea. The second phase is strangely like a boss from Sonic Advance 2, where all you do is run towards the enemy. It's really not that much harder. It's slightly harder in Egg Station, but at the same time, you're trying to hit every single boss 4 times in Egg Station before you even fight the final boss. So, that's not really fair, is it? I'm not basing it on that merit. Egg Station is one of the most annoying things I've ever dealt with, not because it's necessarily hard, but because it tries to be X Station, or was it X Zone, from Sonic Advance. It's just not fun. I don't see why I have to face every single boss before the final boss. It's literally just copy and pasted versions of these bosses. They couldn't even do Phase 1 for Mad Gear and Lost Labyrinth's bosses, which is fine. It's just fine, but it's still irritating nonetheless. I just don't want to have to go through these bosses again. Especially, like, I just had to run through bloody Mad Gear to finish that one. It's really annoying. As you can see, I'm getting hit constantly. I'm not timing my jumps right. Right, let's get to the biggest part of the game. The biggest nothing. Death Egg Robot again. But we already had this in Generations. Technically, this came out before Generations, but that's besides the point. It's just Death Egg Robot, but with a pinch. Is that necessarily a bad thing? No, this boss has always been annoying. I like that it gets a slight transformation here and is actually more aggressive. You know, that actually puts more emphasis on dodging rather than waiting for it to slowly fall down and hit it 13 times to defeat it. That doesn't mean it's necessarily good. To attack it in this phase, you need to hit the arm back, and then you can hit it roughly 4 to 5 times. I've lost count of how many times you actually have to hit it before it enters its final phase. But regardless of that, it's still a massive pain in the ass. This section here is what kills me a lot of the time. It's timing that jump, because you miss it like for a slight second, and you've already messed up. You could not continue that whatsoever. You have to restart the entire boss again, and I hate it for that. It's so annoying, personally. I really dislike the fact I've had to go through that boss twice for these videos. It's really annoying. I am not happy about it whatsoever. As you can see, the ending credits for episode 1 is the same as Sonic 1. So let's quickly rank the stages by which ones are best. So you have Splash Hill at 1, Lost Labyrinth at 2, Casino Street at 3, and Mad Gear at 4. I know that's a bit of a controversial pick, but quite frankly, I fucking hate Mad Gear. Episode 2 takes place directly after the events of Episode 1. Wow, shocker, because I got that wrong the first time. Originally, I thought this took place directly after Sonic 3. Turns out, no. I was wrong because I wish I was drunk. No, it's because I'm an idiot. Here we start off at Sylvania Castle, and as you can see, the graphics have improved, the music has improved, the atmosphere has improved, the controls have improved. This is the slightest glimmer of hope Episode 2 actually had at being a competent game. Because it is a competent game, and I'm tired of pretending it's not. Episode 1 is literally the only reason Sonic 4 gets completely dragged down, and I'm tired of pretending that the entirety of this duology is terrible because of it. The platforming in Sylvania Castle is strangely a half mix between speed and regular platforming, which I quite enjoy. The underwater sections of Act 2 are fun, if not a bit tedious to traverse, and the nighttime setting of Act 3 is honestly a really good setting, especially when you can see the Death Egg Mark II up in the corner, which I honestly didn't realise the first time I played through it. But let's move straight on the white part. It's a white part. There's not much else that could be said. It's a winter stage, it's a snow stage. You get the slight snowboarding gimmick like nearly every other snow stage in the game. The only issues I have with it is the music, because as much as it fits, I just don't like it that much. Soon we'll be moving on to Act 2 because it is the superior stage out of the 3. Act 3 is terrible. It is honestly one of the worst levels I've played in this game, exclusively because of the badniks. The badniks ruin that entire stage. I genuinely do not like how they function. You have to swim incredibly fast to get past a lot of the ice balls and to get into separate areas, but that's just incredibly tedious to do, especially when you barely have time to react to them if you aren't already moving at top speed. Right, let's talk Act 2. It is the bread and butter of White Park, and it is the least white area of this entire game I've ever seen, because yes, it's called White Park, which is technically a theme park set in a Winter Wonderland aesthetic. There is nothing about this level that would make you think it's roughly connected other than the fact it's a theme park. It has good music that's up to the beat. I am an idiot, I do not know how to spell. It is a perfectly good stage for your reaction times. I really, really enjoy the aesthetic of this stage. It really sets the tone for what more unique zones could have been in this game if it was actually given the chance. Oil Desert! I fucking hate it! It's the worst thing to ever exist. The music is the exact same in all 3 acts. The 3rd act is nothing but slight more platforming, which is fine. It's just fine. All of Oil Desert is just fine. It's a 5 out of 10. It's not bad. It's not good. The music doesn't weigh it down. It's exactly what you would expect, strangely, something like this to sound like. Especially if I felt like I had an electric guitar plugged into my ear socket. It's genuinely just not that pleasant. The one thing I did miss out in this stage, not this specific act, but the entirety of Oil Desert, was the tag gimmick. When you break a specific box, you just mash the jump button, and you hit everything on stage, and if you get a high enough score, you get a big ring payout. Because who doesn't like gambling? Right, Sky Fortress is my overall favourite zone in the entirety of the Sonic 4 duology, and it starts off with a cutscene. I don't know where the hell they got the tornado from. I kind of just been assuming they've been taking the tornado from place to place, like Sonic Unleashed. I might be wrong, but that's not saying as if they ain't fast enough to already get there, and they probably did a loop all the way back round. Sky Fortress Act 1 is just Sky Chase. You like Sky Chase? if you love Sky Chase, you will love Sky Chase too. I'm not the biggest fan of this stage. It's more of a set piece than it is an actual stage to me. It's just a cutscene level. Sky Fortress Act 3 is the level we'd be playing. I would play Act 2, but I like the aesthetics of Act 3 more. It gives you an insurgency to want to charge as fast as you can to catch up to Eggman and Metal Sonic. Would I have called him Dr. Robotnik? No, because I'm pretty sure at this point in the lore, he changed his name. That or Sonic is just a complete asshat and wanted to name him that as soon as possible. The platforming in this stage is, I would like to say, a bit more precise. The music is great, the atmosphere is great. The times when you have to use your tag abilities is much more effective here than it was in Oil Desert. I'm not giving that thing any pluses. It doesn't deserve it remotely. I hate Oil Desert with a passion. For some strange reason, Sky Fortress Act 3 uses a gimmick from Death Egg Zone from Sonic 3 Knuckles, the warp thingamabobs, because who doesn't like a big when you're flying around the sky when you could just be using the tornado? I understand that it's more about the level gimmicks than it is just about having another Sky Chase. We don't need another Sky Chase. Please, we do not need another Sky Chase. Let's do a quick boss rush, shall we? Originally, I thought that this boss was gonna be ass, because, you know, Sonic 4 Episode 1 really set the bar. The boss designs in Episode 2 are significantly more interesting and intriguing, and I'm glad they actually went for something relatively unique. Fuck the Oil Desert boss. That boss completely sucks, and I'm not in the mood to be playing bloody Tetris to fight something that takes longer than a Superstars boss. The flower boss is great. I love the aesthetic for it. It stands out, which is why I'm surprised. I don't think he's done something similar to this. I actually think the inspiration for this boss must have been Perfect Chaos with its design. This section here, when it's injected with its own, I would like to say energy, it might be fluid, it could be any of them. Honestly, this really suits the stage that it's in. It's a great boss. I know it seems like a cop-out going Supersonic here, but quite frankly, I just want to start getting done with these boss rushes, because I don't want to have to stay and linger on them for too long. It's just Stardust Speedway, which is how I've only just realized. The only boss that's like significant to Metal Sonic in this game is similar to Stardust Speedway. Right, looking in the background, I've only now just noticed the Death Egg Mark II again. And I've noticed that it's not even completely complete, which is making me think, how many days is it taking them to even catch up to this lot? The boss is as simple as using the roll tag technique to hit Metal Sonic. Let's just skip to the bloody Oil Desert boss, because I don't want to talk about it for much longer. It's just Tetris. Well, it's more like Tetris Attack, if anything. It's just falling blocks, you jump on the falling blocks, or you fly, you hit the Eggman. And that's really all that it's good for. That's really all it's good for. Honestly, the only thing I enjoy about this boss is that it strangely reminds me a lot of the Gaia Colossus from Sonic Unleashed, which is a really weird comparison to be making here, but I like it as, you know, a design. It does look like a Superstars boss. I'm not happy it looks like a Superstars boss and it plays like a Superstars boss. Is this what Superstars was based on? Like, genuinely. This boss can go to hell. After you hit it enough times, you go to the surface to touch its toes. I screwed up the jump. The entire gimmick here is waiting for the boss to jump down, move ever so slightly out the way, and you hit it in the toes. I didn't see the point. I missed it the first time. So, I didn't even intentionally mean to, like, damage boost through, to be honest with you. It kind of just happens sometimes. Honestly, damage boosting is a whole lot easier than actually trying to line yourself up with this. It's literally just It's just a scrapped robot. That's all it is. Nothing really that interesting about it. Sky Fortress is Sky Chase again. It's just Sky Chase again. Is it a bad boss? No. What I have realized about it though, it has the ability to, like, not damage, but stun Supersonic, which makes me question, why hasn't Eggman been using this technology to just actively stun Sonic? I know he's in it for the love of the game at this point because, you know, oh, they're arch enemies, they're arch rivals. It's all about beating him, etc., etc. It's not about killing him. It's just, if you have the ability to stun the equivalent of a god in this universe with a laser beam, you're telling me that you wouldn't want to go through and actively use it? That's really funny in retrospect, to be honest with you. I don't understand why it's relegated to this singular boss, but that's all there is to be expected with this boss, to be honest with you. You defeat the boss. You fly all around the Air Fortress, Sky Fortress. They're identical. Right. So Sonic and Tails finally catch up to Dr. Eggman, and they decide to have a light jog because, God forbid, you don't want to speed up ever so slightly to actually catch him. What's Metal Sonic going to do here? Absolutely nothing, because he's not even remotely damaged. It's more just to pose. He's trying to do the definition of aura farming. I just don't know why he does it. I don't think it's worth the effort, bud. They steal the last remaining pod. They fly. What makes me find this funny, right? So, I understand using the pod to go into space, as if there hasn't been several occasions when they've went to space without it. Look how ominous the Death Egg Mark II is. It is never really explained through any lore details in this game of how, like, actually interesting it is. It's just a set piece. Death Egg Mark II is just Death Egg Zone 1, specifically for Sonic 3 and Knuckles. And that's really all there can be explained about it. You know, the anti-gravity gimmicks, etc., etc. The music is fine, it's enjoyable. I do think it's a bit clustered, but I will give it the benefit of the doubt because, you know, it's still under construction, it's not fully complete, so, you know, I will give it a pass for that. The first boss of this act is just get around Eggman and attack Metal Sonic, who now has the ability to charge Spirit Bombs, because everyone on Little Planet, everyone on the regular planet, has got to give him strength. I use Super Sonic here because I just could not be asked. Do you really think I would want to be asked to actually fight this boss? It's literally, like, identical to how, what's it? The White Park bosses, where you can literally just spam the tag roll. It's really as simple as that. You can kick his ass that easily, to be honest. The final boss of this specific act is a race against Metal Sonic, which can be cleared piss easy. Just with the roll. You just have to roll. You don't even need to use Super Sonic, which is sad, because I'm actually pretty sure the roll goes faster than Super Sonic, which is making me question, is Friendship Power a higher power system than the Chaos Emeralds? I am talking out my ass. I am running out of things to say about this zone. So let's just move straight on to Act 2, the boss. Egg Heart. Who else loves the Egg Heart? I originally called it that because, you know, it was shaped like a heart. It's the heart of the system. It's the heart of the entirety of the Death Egg Mark II. And it's only then when I realized, after doing some researching, it is actually called the Egg Heart. So either I'm a genius, or I'm just pointing out the obvious. The Egg Heart is not surprisingly that simple. All you have to do is run along 3 rings, get to Eggman in the center, hit him, and once he puts a shield up, destroy the shield with a tag roll, and you're home free. It's really as simple as that. I love the design for this. The music is great. I do feel like the boss can be unfair with its placement of electrical surges sometimes, but that's to be expected. You can't expect the final boss to be piss easy, but, you know, it's a Sonic game, it's going to be easy to some extent. In a last-ditch effort, he just rotates again. I am honestly surprised. What's the word I'm looking for? I do wish it was a bit harder. I do wish that this boss battle meant a bit more, to be honest. Because, to be fair, if Episode 3 did come to be, the Death Egg Mark II would probably still be around. Sonic and Tails are reaching for an escape. They must escape the exploding Death Egg Mark II because it's not like they haven't done this hundreds of times. It seems to be that the Death Egg Mark II is actually significantly bigger than the Death Egg Mark I, which is not a surprise because it contains an entire little planet. They steal the last remaining spaceship shuttle pods and they escape. That is the end of the Sonic 4 duology. Now, let's quickly read over some notes here. Let's talk about rankings. Let's just go straight into this. Right, how am I going to order this? Because I want it to be relatively fair. I want to have Sky Fortress, Sylvania Castle, White Park, Splash Hill, Lost Labyrinth, Mad Gear, Oil Desert, Casino Street. Then for the boss zones, obviously Death Egg Mark II is taking that spot, whereas Egg Station is a big flop. Now let's talk music. Splash Hill is just a 5. All of the music is just identical. Casino Street is a bit more varied. 4 out of 10 though, I do not particularly like the music. Lost Labyrinth, too short, 6.5. I'm incredibly biased, I like Lost Labyrinth. Mad Gear, great, 5.5. The boss music, no, 2. It's not that good. Let's talk Episode 2. Sylvania Castle, 6. White Park, 6.5. Oil Desert, 3.5. Sky Fortress, I'm a bit torn on it, but a 6. As much as I love the level, as much as I love the music, it is literally just a slightly higher pitched version with a slightly higher insurgency. That's really all it is at the end of the day. Death Egg Mark II, 6. The music is quite decent. The controls for Episode 1 are bad. The overall rating for Episode 1 would literally just be a 5. It's not bad, it's not good. There's some playability there. I would not recommend buying it. Episode 2, 6.5, maybe a 7. Massive step up from Episode 2. I mean, not Episode 2. Massive step up from Episode 1. Music's better, controls are better, the gimmicks are better, and it's an overall better game that you could actually play by itself. Do grab this if it's on sale, and if Episode 1's on sale, I guess get it, because it completes the set. Episode Medal. Why was it not in this video? I hate it, I despise it. It does not deserve to be in this ranking because it's literally just Episode 1 rehashes. And I don't like that the difficulty has been increased even more because it still runs on the same engine as Episode 1, so it's clunky as hell. My official rating for the duology as a whole is a 6. My name is Scarlet Deakit, and thank you for watching my review on the Sonic 4 duology.